Afghanistan's economy is collapsing, creating a situation where parents are selling the most valuable asset they have, their daughters. Recent stats show nearly 40% of all girls in the country are married before they turn 18. In many cases, they're married even before they become teenagers. It's a story that's hard to absorb, but it is important to tell. So joining us this morning is the founder of Too Young to Wed, Stephanie Sinclair. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We mentioned the economy in Afghanistan, but what are some of the other factors that are driving this?
I mean, the biggest factor that's driving this right now is gender apartheid. We see, women are not able to work. They're not even. We have many widows who are stuck at home. They have many different children. We have one family that has 7 children. And she's not allowed to work. The mother's not allowed to work, so they have no other way to feed the rest of their family. And so the gender apartheid is really the biggest contributor here. And then lack of, a disengagement by the international community to supporting the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan.
Which is part of the reason we do stories like this. Stephanie, you had a team in Afghanistan. They profiled 6 different girls who were either sold into marriage already or who were set to be sold. We have to warn some of our viewers. They may find these stories difficult to hear, but Stephanie, what was it about those individuals that resonated with your team?
The thing that was so heartbreaking and really, came to us, really showed the urgency of it, is that they're prepubescent. These are girls that are under 10. And so this is one of the women that's a widow, and those are all her kids that she's got to sell. And now because she is a widow, sometimes they marry these girls early and then they pick them up when they're just a little bit older, over 13. But now that can't happen. And so this girl, one of the girls is named Farzana. The girl standing up at the top, Fauzia, she's also been sold. And so we're seeing these, our statistics were similar to UNICEF's as well. We interviewed 800 families, and we found about 40% of them had either sold their daughters or were looking for buyers.
In the case of 2 of the young girls, your organization, Too Young to Wed, was able to annul the marriage. But World Vision found that in 2022, more than half of all Afghans are facing potentially life-threatening levels of food insecurity. You talked about gender apartheid. How will families survive?
It's very difficult. Most of the families we interviewed were surviving on just bread and tea, which is obviously you're going to see stunted growth from girls like that, where you're going to see a lack of being able to even just grow properly. This is actually footage from, if I remember correctly, this is from all these girls were being sold. That's from a different outlet. But yeah, I mean, I've been covering the issue of child marriage globally, and I've been to over 60 countries. This is the worst case I've ever seen. And the thing that's really striking and just unbelievable to me is that the world is not engaging enough about the gender apartheid that's happening. And when you see women are stuck in their homes, girls are not allowed to go to school, they're not allowed to contribute to their societies in any way. They're not even allowed to go to the park. And so if women's rights and girls' rights are so fragile that the world can kind of become accustomed to it and kind of allow this to happen without more consequences, then it just shows you, it's a demonstration of how fragile girls' and women's rights are everywhere.
What do you want people watching our conversation to take away from this?
I want them to imagine that these are their daughters. This is them as children, if they're women, and think about what is it, the Canadian government has always been really great about addressing the issue of child marriage. I would encourage the Canadian government and the citizens of Canada to really reprioritize what girls are facing there. And, there's so many women stuck in Pakistan as well. I know Canada was very generous in opening its doors towards Afghans. However, a lot of those opportunities closed worldwide after Ukraine. And, we still have particularly vulnerable women stuck in Pakistan, such as LGBT Afghans, human rights activists, journalists, and now Pakistan has been deporting so many of them, even threatening many families with assault sexual assault and tearing up their things, and they've their IDs, and they have, they've chased out, hundreds of thousands just since September. So I really think that just to re-engage and imagine that this was the situation that they were in. We all come from immigrant families, and it's really important that we stick up for the most vulnerable.
It can be hard to look at and tell these stories and to hear these stories, but so important that we not only let them make us sad, but make us angry and motivate us as well. Stephanie, thanks for the work that you are doing, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.